Power Africa is the initiative announced by President Obama when he visited Africa in June 2013. He hopes to use $7 billion of US money and $9 billion of private money to double access to electricity in Africa. By doing this, he will eliminate one of the missing links in Africa's growth promise. Power Africa should deliver economic diversification, economic growth, as well as promote new investments into Africa. On economic diversification, though Africa has managed to increase its manufactured exports from about $10 billion in 2000 to about $33 billion in 2011, most of that has come from South Africa, that only accounts for 5% of Africa's population. The aspiration really would be for a larger number of African countries to have the capacity to export manufactured goods. And what's key to that is electricity supply. Secondly, economic growth. Beneficiation is a huge aspiration of a number of African countries. So Gabon, Guinea, South Africa, and the DRC are a few of the countries that have legislation in place or are discussing legislation to ban the export of unprocessed natural resources. However, to add value to natural resources at home in order to export final goods, you would need electricity. And a number of these countries wouldn't have it without initiatives such as Power Africa or a way of developing their electricity supply. And finally, new investment. Africa only supplies about 80 gigawatts of electricity every year. The aspiration is for Africa to reach universal access to electricity by 2030. So to get there, you need 250 gigawatts of energy or an extra $40 billion of investment every year. That is a huge investment opportunity, both for domestic Africans as well as foreign investors. Companies need to be aware of some risks. The fact that Power Africa is coming against the backdrop of several initiatives that African governments are undertaking themselves, for example. In Nigeria, President Goodluck Jonathan has an ambition to increase electricity supply tenfold to 40,000 megawatts by 2020. To that end, he's privatized 17 of the subsidiary companies of PHCN, which was the state-owned power company. However, those privatizations have happened very quickly and over a short space of time. And typically in Nigeria, such privatizations are criticized. So we saw in December 2011 that 9 privatizations were reversed once they were challenged in Senate. So there is a risk, therefore, of contract frustration or contract review if in future these privatizations are also questioned by a new government in Nigeria. Well, Power Africa has been criticized by some people. It's not a lot of money. It's $7 billion or $16 billion if you add the private sector money. It's being promoted by a foreign government rather than a domestic Africa initiative. However, for me, what's most important is that there is a huge challenge with the lack of sufficient electricity in Africa, which is needed to complete the promise of Africa's growth and diversification. And there's a huge investment opportunity. And talking about Power Africa, the way President Obama has made us start doing, is bringing those two things together, opportunity and challenge. And I think that, for me, is the great success of the program.